We're on board here on the SS Almond, and we're intercepting a strange signal from Space Australia. Please put that on my main dock.
What do I say?
Well, I guess we've encountered the signal. It looks like it's a friend. It's a Super Jaiyan. Beautiful friends, we're going to be treated to a delightful treat here because we have Super Jaiyan joining us today.
Yeah, I'm back on YouTube. I'm back on the interwebs. You guys have to deal with me again.
Ah, man, won't it be great for you to tell us about how awesome Vegeta is, huh?
Well, that's not why I'm here, actually. A lot of you seem to believe that because I dispute Goku, winning this tournament or obtaining Ultra Instinct, that I don't like Goku or I hate Dragon Ball, which is simply not the case.
No, well, with a collection like the one you got, I mean, it'd be hard to try to argue that you hate Dragon Ball, man.
Right?
But anyway,
Try telling that to some of the people on Twitter. They think, oh, this guy's spent, X amount of thousands of dollars on Dragon Ball. He must hate Dragon Ball because he doesn't like Goku all the time. Just like, ugh.
yeah, anyway, the reason we're here, guys, is because we're here to discuss the Tournament of Power and its ending, but more specifically, we're going to discuss, because I found this interesting. Jay, he sent me a document about how he would have booked or written the ending of the Tournament of Power, and I thought it was a very interesting the way he thought of the fights and how, like, the construction of the ending and the themes of the promise that Vegeta made. So what I thought we were going to do here is go through how Jay would have done the ending and compare it and contrast it to how it actually was. And I don't know, I think that it'll borne out a good discussion. So, right?
Oh yes, this video could well go for an hour long at least.
Hey, we're no rush here. So I mean, I think we should. I think you should lead it off for us, man.
Yes. Well, basically, I'll just give you guys the ideas behind it. I wrote this ending out of frustration. I guess you could call it fanfic, but at the end of the day, it's just to kind of show that one person. Well, I feel like one person can write a more consistent ending or story than, I don't know how many writers they have working at Toei. Toriyama gives a manuscript to Toei and a manuscript to Toyotaro, and they go off and they do their own version of events, and that's why the manga and the anime have vastly different ways of telling the same story.
It also can lead to inconsistencies. Like, one thing that I don't like is the whole line, I forgot what episode number it was, but Vegeta was said to have had lost all his power, or he was drained completely, and then in the next episode he's still using energy, and so yeah, that can lead to inconsistencies, and I thought that was probably one of the most blatant examples of too many cooks in the kitchen where they're not coordinating properly.
And that's the biggest problem I have. I thought to myself, if I can write my own ending by myself with my own head, not being biased towards any character whatsoever, because at the end of the day, I do like all these characters, how would I do it? And I basically came to the conclusion of this, and it goes for a while. I'll start by reading the first couple of paragraphs, and you can break it down and discuss it as we go, Juan. Basically, I've got how the Tournament of Power should have gone. And now this is from the point of Goku and Vegeta teaming up against Jiren. Vegeta has unlocked his Super Saiyan, God Super Saiyan evolution form. Man, that's a mouthful to say that. And we're going from this point.
Well, for sure, Super Saiyan Blue evolution should suffice, right? I mean, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason I didn't write the whole tournament over again is because A, it would take too long, and B, the climactic part of the end of each arc it's the most important part. It's what finishes an arc, and that's what's got to be executed the best. The Goku Black arc was good, but then when they reached the end of it, they kind of stuffed it up, and I feel like that's kind of what they've done with the Tournament of Power, in my opinion. But basically, it goes like this. Dyspo, with his speed, is giving Universe 7 a tough time. He consistently interferes with Goku and Vegeta's fight with Jiren, whilst keeping Gohan, Frieza, and 17 busy at the same time, simply to show off just how fast he is.
I want to stop there because first of all, I like this in several ways. The fact that Dyspo is so fast that he can, I guess, fight in multiple fights at the same time. First of all, yeah, you're right. It shows off his speed, but it also shows off another aspect of this tournament, which, no, I think it has been used. You could say, well, you could arguably say it's been used to a sufficient extent, but it's also the multi-opponent aspect of it. It's not just one-on-one fights. and it shows the dynamic nature of a battle royal, where someone could sneak up on you or gang up on you at any moment. And that's what I really like. I like the fact that Dyspo, first of all, is used to interrupt the main fight, right? And he's so fast that he can still hold up Gohan and and the rest of them, like Frieza and such. I think that's a way better use of Dyspo than what he was actually used in the actual show.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, I try to make this as interesting as possible, and I really put a lot of thought into this. So basically, Dispo's doing this in order to show off how fast he is. Gohan, along with Frieza and 17, team up to take on Dispo. So you've got three fighters, Gohan, Frieza, and 17, all teaming up on Dyspo. Dyspo's whose speed is that fast it exceeds the capacities of the trio combined. Although physically Dyspo's attacks are not very powerful, over time he's wearing them out with his consistent and continual blows. It takes Gohan's smarts, 17's heightened senses as an android, and Frieza's newfound golden power to deal a decisive blow to finish Dyspo off. Now you can get rid of Dyspo out of the arena any way that you want to, but at the end of the day, it was ultimately down to Gohan, Frieza, and 17 working together. And I didn't get rid of Gohan at this point because I still felt like Gohan should still be a part of this tournament, and I felt like they wasted Gohan by having him sacrifice himself against Dyspo.
When comparing this to what actually happened, I guess in similar vein where Gohan and Frieza did team up to take out Dyspo. However, you added the extra guy 17 in there. Was there any reason why you decided to add 17 in there?
Well, I did use, in a Toyotaro kind of way. Toyotaro uses things like past things from the series to motivate his storytelling. And I used the part of GT where 17 claims that because he is an artificial human or an android, he has heightened senses. When Goku's trying to use, instant transmission to appear behind Super 17 as a Super Saiyan 4, he's not able to because 17 can sense the atmospheric vibrations. And if you go back to the Android arc when they're driving around in that pink food van and they actually can sense Piccolo fighting someone off in the distance, they actually say that they can sense vibrations in the atmosphere. So I tried to use that in the fight with Dyspo, as if Dyspo is going that fast, he would give off some form of vibration or something along those lines.
Yeah, but for having three characters try to finish off Dyspo, it really obviously raises the importance and you could say at the most superficial level, the strength of the character, which really, the threat, the threat of Dyspo is raised, where Dyspo is kind of like the third, like he's treated as like the third wheel, like we see Dyspo compared to Toppo and Jiren, and we know that he's the weakest link, right?
Yeah.
That could be, in a storytelling perspective, when you see the three guys and a cursory knowledge of what's going on in Super and Toppo and Jiren, that Dyspo is like the guy you don't have to worry about. You see, here's the thing. I'll push back on you there, Jay. See, because some people might say that having three guys take out the weakest link might make look... I don't know how to word this in the best way I can, but it might make the three guys taking him out look weak. Instead of what, or make them look like they're not significant.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I continue to use them past this point, and I also would like to, add that Dragon Ball has too much of a focus on just raw power. You've got to add other dynamics to the show to make it interesting. I never have a problem with Goku being more powerful than Vegeta, for example, but I find Vegeta to be a far more interesting character. He's more fourth dimensional, therefore he's a better character in my eyes, in my opinion. Not because even though the show is strongly based on strength.
He skipped the third dimension. He's fourth dimensional.
That's right. He skipped Super Saiyan 3. But I will say this. I feel like Dyspo, just because he's not physically as strong as Toppo or Jiren, I don't feel like that matters because he has other ways of compensating. If his speed is that great that you can't physically land a hit on him, then you have to find other ways to compensate, So you're using teamwork here to beat someone who they've never come across before with this sort of speed, who, Frieza is now at a level where we never expected Frieza to be, and Frieza can't even keep up with this guy. Gohan is at a level beyond what he was in the Buu arc, but he can't even keep up with this guy. And 17, who in Super is shown to be on par with Blue in the anime and Super Saiyan 3 in the manga, he can't even keep up with this guy. So this guy is fast. He's a problem. And you have to use teamwork to beat him, because I feel like just raw power is not the answer to every scenario.
Gohan and Frieza did use teamwork to take out Dyspo, although with three guys instead of two. But anyway, I think we should move on to the next point.
Yes. So while this is happening, the fight with Dyspo, meanwhile, Vegeta has been separated from his battle with Jiren, thanks to Toppo interfering upon Dyspo's defeat, because Dyspo has now been knocked out by the trio of Gohan, Frieza, and 17. So thanks to Toppo interfering upon Dyspo's defeat, Toppo hopes that if he can take Vegeta out, or at least keep him busy, Jiren can use this time to take out the biggest threat to Universe 11's hope of victory. Universe 7's hope of victory. I've confused myself here. So Toppo wants to take out Universe 11's biggest threat to their victory, which is Son Goku. So they want to eliminate Son Goku because he is the biggest threat with the Ultra Instinct that he's obtained earlier in the tournament. He's their biggest threat to winning. So he hopes that if he can isolate Son Goku with Jiren alone, that, he'll be able to get the job done, take him out, and then it's only a matter of time before the other fighters will fall.
Once again, showing like the battle royal team dynamics that this tournament does. I mean, I think that it has showcased that several times throughout the series. Although in the final moments of this fight, like a lot of them have turned into very they're not necessarily one-on-one fights, but they've been very contained, if you know what I mean. There's little moments like when Frieza interfered in the fight between Toppo and 17. Remember when they were clashing?
Yeah, and you had Hit fighting Dyspo, and Goku came and helped out. So, which was odd because that was a different universe. But I mean that dynamic's there. I just feel like they didn't use it enough, and they used it more at the end of the tournament. But if you actually go and read the first chapter of Toyotaro's manga for the Dragon Ball Super Tournament of Power arc or chapter, you will find that Toyotaro does a much better job of showcasing that kind of battle royale atmosphere in his manga. He kind of shows multiple things going on at a time. He shows multiple fighters attacking multiple fighters at the same time, and that's how a battle royale should be. Now, you can blame multiple things for the anime not doing this, whether it be time constrictions on creating an episode, not enough writers or too many writers, not enough animators, to do this. The budget's not big enough. That's fine. There's multiple excuses you could throw at me, but at the end of the day, it doesn't do that enough, in my opinion, and I feel like at least at the end, you should have all these fighters teaming up together and trying to interfere with each other's fights, because it hasn't happened enough earlier in the arc. It has to happen at the climax of the arc, because this is when things are getting really down to the wire, and your universe is going to be erased.
Well, like I said before, sometimes I will defend the arc this arc in terms of the opponents and people jumping in and out of fights. I think that has definitely happened in the anime version. Although in this ending part, it's really, like I said before, sometimes the fights can be a little too contained. But whatever. I mean, we'll moving on.
Yeah. So Toppo has interfered with Vegeta, or carried Vegeta away from his fight with Jiren, so it's just Goku versus Jiren. And now Vegeta, with his new Super Saiyan evolution form obtained earlier when facing Jiren, is making sport of Toppo. As Toppo laments his inability to combat Vegeta's new power, he makes his decision to forget his sense of right and wrong and obtain his God of Destruction form. At this stage, the tables are turned, and Gohan and 17 jump to Vegeta's aid, while Frieza does his best to keep Goku in the ring, acting as a barrier between Goku and being wrung out. So Frieza is essentially peeling off from 17 and Gohan to go, and every time Jiren can land those decisive blows or ring Goku out, he's standing there in his golden form on standby to kind of catch Goku or push Goku back, or to land a hit on Jiren to kind of toss things up a bit, but he's not directly attacking Jiren because he knows he's no match for him.
I see you decided to have like a lot of interferences in these fights, which I think should have been.
That's the way I feel it should be. They're like these guys. Exactly. There's no rules. You can't just he's off limits until this period of time, or no, you can't fight him just yet until this episode. None of that should exist. Those constraints should not exist in story. If you're telling a story organically and it feels like it's flowing naturally, you shouldn't force yourself to have a certain fighter fight a certain fighter in X episode. It should not work that way. I also put that Gohan and 17 went to Vegeta's aid because I feel like to portray just how powerful Toppo is, because I feel like Toppo was really undersold in the episodes on the anime, because he just obtained, the power of a God of Destruction. He's even referred to by Belmod as God of Destruction Toppo. They just eliminated him in one episode, and you might say, well, isn't it, people probably expect me to say the opposite. Vegeta eliminated Toppo. Wouldn't you be happy about that? Well, yes and no. I was happy that Vegeta got a moment like that, but at the same time, for Vegeta to just think about his family, power up, and then eliminate him with a final explosion, which in my opinion, they didn't even use the final explosion properly. If Vegeta is at a blue level using the final explosion, it extinguishes life energy. That final explosion would be stronger than the one he used in the Majin Buu arc, yes. Just because his body is stronger, like they said, doesn't mean the final explosion would not be stronger, which it was because it had to take out a God of Destruction in Topo. So I feel like that was the wrong way to portray it because Vegeta should not have survived that attack because they don't understand the dynamic of how that attack that actually worked.
We talked about this earlier, and I think Dragon Ball can be very inconsistent with this whole idea of using life energy in attacks. I mean, one of the first times we ever heard life energy in an attack is the Kikoho, the Tri-Beam. And when it was first introduced, it was introduced as a very deadly move that I believe halved your lifespan and used life energy, but that was thrown out the window when in subsequent uses, obviously because I mean, if we wanted to keep, it was a really cool move, and if you had these limitations, you weren't going to be able to use it. So I think Dragon Ball, I mean, you could always say that this has always been there since, for a very long time in Dragon Ball.
That's why I removed Vegeta's final explosion from my version of events, because I feel that if you're going to use the final explosion, it should only be used as a suicidal last stand. And if they were going to eliminate Topo that way, Vegeta should have also killed himself. That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, on the subject of Topo, I actually, it's kind of weird for me because I have no problem. In theory, I have no problem with Vegeta knocking Topo out by himself. Especially since, I have no problem with Vegeta knocking him out because he got a new transformation. I have a problem if he didn't get a new transformation. Now, okay, maybe this speaks to a lot of problems with Dragon Ball, that transformations are needed for this and that. But the thing is here, Vegeta got a new transformation, and they need a reason to justify its power. They need something for Vegeta to do, something to display his new level of power. And obviously, the route they chose to do that with is, okay, well, to display Vegeta's newfound power, we're going to have him take out Topo, who is apparently a God of Destruction, or a God of Destruction level type character. So that's the route they chose to go. However, because he was taken out so easily in retrospect, it diminishes Vegeta's accomplishment. So I agree. I do agree with you there. I think that Topo was not given the proper respect or credence with his newfound strength. So I do agree with you there. But I also have another problem with Topo in terms of he was used as a foil for Vegeta. That's a whole nother thing that has nothing to do with strength, but as character things. Topo had his character was all wrapped up in justice and doing the right thing, and then he peeled that all away for survival, just pure survival. Because if you don't survive, justice is nothing. Justice can't. If there's nothing to hold up justice, then justice doesn't exist at all. So surviving is the prime objective. And some people didn't like this. I actually did like this. I like this development that Topo, who held something so dear to himself, had to peel it away for the sake of just being able to survive and maybe hold justice another day. So I like this. I didn't like the fact that he was just used as a foil, however, for Vegeta, and he was belittled. He was belittled for his decision. That's kind of like another discussion. I don't know. What do you have to say to that?
I just think that Vegeta should have basically been used in the way the way I feel that he should have been used is the way I've written it here. And I don't feel like he needed to eliminate Topo for his transformation to be justified, because at the end of the day, this tournament is about survival and about saving your universe and your loved ones. He could have obtained this transformation out of desperation in the same way Goku obtained the Super Saiyan form on Planet Namek. He needed this form to survive. He needed this form to keep fighting. And that's the way I've used it. He doesn't have to take out a God of Destruction level opponent. I mean, I understand why they've done it in the anime. They've done it to show Vegeta is around ballpark the level of the Gods of Destruction, and Goku has surpassed the Gods of Destruction. I get the dynamic they're going with there. Number one, number two. I don't feel that's necessary, though. It's kind of an unwritten rule about Dragon Ball that Goku is stronger than Vegeta. Like, I remember back when I was watching the Goku Black arc and Vegeta was speeding around Goku Black in his Rose form like it was nothing. And he was grabbing him by his hair and headbutting him. At that point in time, it'd be easy to think to yourself, oh, Vegeta's stronger than Goku here because of the way he's manhandling Goku Black. But internally, you don't think that way because you go, well, no, Goku, usually is the strongest, so he probably still is the strongest, or he's probably still equal to Vegeta. So I feel like that's an unwritten rule. You don't need to write in or show the audience that Goku is number one and Vegeta's number two, because everyone kind of already knows that internally. So I feel like it was kind of forced to have Vegeta take out Topo, because I feel like this is the first part where it started to become really, really predictable to me, because I knew as soon as Vegeta took Topo out that he was just going to become fodder for Jiren, which again I felt was really unorganic, bad storytelling, because they had constantly built up Vegeta's promise to Kaba, and they had constantly built up the fact that Vegeta, was surpassing his own limits whilst fighting Jiren, and then they just stamped that out after he beat Topo. So it didn't feel natural, but we'll get to that later. So I'll continue with the fight here.
I'll just reiterate the fact that in theory, I think that Vegeta beating Topo, I'm okay with. Although I do agree with you that maybe if maybe it would have been more interesting or more significant if maybe Topo and Vegeta knocked each other out, or even if Vegeta died trying to knock Topo out. Maybe that would have been more dramatic, you could say. I will agree with that.
Yeah. So basically, Vegeta is overwhelming Topo with his new evolution power. Topo laments his inability, lets go of his sense of right and wrong, and becomes the god of destruction. At this stage, 17 and Gohan have jumped in, as I said, while Frieza went to stop Goku from being wrung out. And while this is happening, whilst Topo is fighting Vegeta, Gohan, and 17, Jiren is landing many decisive blows on Goku, but every time Goku is on the ropes, Frieza steps in to ensure he cannot be taken out of bounds. Jiren sets his sights on taking out Frieza, but the reverse is done, and Goku is acting as a buffer to stop Frieza from being taken out of bounds. Both take the opportunity to land any hit they can on Jiren, but it seems to have no effect. So I've gone with a very similar dynamic to Goku and Vegeta's fight with Jiren. They're just doing whatever they can to land hits on Jiren.
It seems a little bit more desperate. It seems like that Goku and Frieza are just there to survive, not trying, not in there in a fight. Although one thing I do like, however, is once again we're not gonna say reiterate everything, but you have three characters going up against God of Destruction Topo, which makes Topo, the God of Destruction version of him, seem like a more legitimate threat. It makes him look bigger and a much more formidable than him.
I have that covered. I've covered that in my story here.
Yeah. I'm just pointing that out, that you have three characters going up against him instead of two, maybe two, like offhandedly two or one. So
yeah, it keeps the audience guessing when you tell it this way. You've got basically so Frieza. I wanted to have Frieza and Goku fighting to survive. Like you said, I didn't want it to be like Goku and Vegeta, where you just feel like you've got two walls just smacking into each other and not budging at all. Like this needs to feel like, no, Frieza and Goku are on the ropes. It's not like Goku and Vegeta versus Jiren, where they were like, trading blow for blow or getting hits on Jiren that pushed him back. This is like Frieza and Goku are landing hits on Jiren, but they simply aren't doing anything. He's not even moving. So like this is I wanted to get that sense of desperation. So basically at this time, Goku's wishing that he could push his blue Kaioken past a 20, but knows it will ruin his body. Topo is still on the offensive, beating the trio of Vegeta, Gohan, and 17. At this point, Vegeta wonders if Topo is rivaling Jiren in power, as his blows are so heavy and feel similar to fighting Beerus. I put that in there because he is a god of destruction as well now. But Topo remarks Jiren is still well above himself, and that Universe 7 has no hope of winning. That's that part of the tournament.
Well, that's exactly the same as in the show, Jiren being cocky, telling them they got no chance.
No, that was Topo saying that. So basically...
Yeah. Well, same thing. Vegeta, when he was there.
Vegeta's wondering why, he's going, is Topo stronger than Jiren? Because his blows feel like, when I fought Beerus or when I've trained with Beerus, they feel so heavy. And Topo's remarking, no, Jiren is still leagues above me, and you have no hope of winning. So, there's that real sense of desperation, because not only can Vegeta in his new form not beat Topo, but he's still got Jiren on the other side, trying to ring Goku and Frieza out, and he's a much more insurpassable wall than Topo. So as Jiren is basically overhearing Topo and Vegeta, so Jiren hears the conversation that Topo and Vegeta have just had. Jiren seizes the moment to power up upon his frustration at Goku and Frieza's teamwork. In a show of force, he eliminates Frieza in an instant and remarks, Goku, you're next. I felt like that raises the stakes. It gets rid of someone who I feel has been used really well up until this point, because Frieza really, when you think about it logically, he had no right to be here in the first place. He's there out of desperation for Universe 7 to fill out 10 team members. So I feel like Frieza's been used enough. I would have used him if I wrote the whole arc. I would have used him better up until this point. But I feel like this is the point where Frieza, in my opinion, stops being useful. And I also feel like what they're doing in the anime right now isn't working because they're trying to be like, haha, you don't know where Frieza is. Is Frieza out of bounds? And we're all sitting here going, no, we know he's not out of bounds. We know he's going to stick up right at the end and go, I'm still alive. Do I win the tournament? Like, we know that's exactly what he's going to do. That's predictable. Again, it's predictable storytelling. To me, if it's that predictable, it's not good storytelling. So
just to be on the defense of Super here, because even though we know the basic spoilers of the ending of Super, but we don't know the exact details of everything yet. So I don't know, maybe it's too early to call that horse cart right now, but I can't really say have a definitive statement on this because Super hasn't really ended yet and we haven't seen everything.
Yeah. Well, as Jiren is about to hit Goku with the same force he hit Frieza with, 17 steps in with a barrier and says he will do the best he can to fill Frieza's role. 17 uses his barriers to keep Jiren's hits from landing on Goku. It's no use, however, as Jiren consistently breaks multiple barriers at once. I wanted to go with the dynamic there of just 17 replacing Frieza. He's saying, I don't know if I can do as well as Frieza did protecting you, but I'll do my best. I'm trying to, because it's kind of, I'm guessing those characters are ballpark. We don't really know who's stronger. So I wanted to kind of leave that up in the air. But I also put that 17 is using the same thing in the anime, the same tactic. He's using multiple of those barriers he uses to protect Goku. I feel like that's the most logical way to protect Goku in this tournament. And the anime didn't do a bad job with that, but I still felt like it was a little bit too direct, and they could have done a lot more with it, and it was really compacted into one episode. It should have been dragged out over 2 episodes. So 17's using his barriers to keep Jiren hits from landing on Goku. It's no use, however, as Jiren consistently breaks the multiple barriers at once. 17 knows it's only a matter of time before Jiren finds a way to get around the green sea of barriers and get to Goku. So he decides to use his body to create a barrier too strong for even Jiren to break. But there's a catch. The barrier will only buy Goku 5 minutes to recover some stamina. Goku tells 17 not to do it, but 17 remarks, there is no other way to keep Jiren from beating you right now. And I put in right now because that's exactly what Jiren wants to do. Jiren wants to beat Goku right now, whereas Goku's trying to buy some time to recover. So 17's doing whatever he can to buy Goku some time, very similar to what he did in the anime there. So he also then says to Goku, he needs Goku to find that power from earlier. And I'm referring to Ultra Instinct sign there, the black-haired Ultra Instinct form. 17 saying, I need you to find that power again. Otherwise, we're not going to win. An almighty explosion occurs, and 17 vanishes as 18 sheds tears, and the smoke and rubble clears. Jiren is seen standing, still staring at Goku.
Once again, you decided to go with the route of 17's death.
I felt was good. That was a strong point in the series.
No, yeah, exactly. That's actually, I'm glad we agree on this one because that's one thing I actually did really enjoy about the what actually happened in the actual show is the sacrifice that 17 made, and for some reason, some people, there was some contingent. It was obviously not everyone, but there was some contingent of fans that weren't happy. Let's face it. With Super, there's practically almost everything Super does. There's going to be a contingent that is not going to be happy. But the point is I thought this was going to be more universal. There was going to be more universal agreement on this because I thought that having 17, who was built up so much in this arc, he came back for this one too. By the way, obviously he came back from being completely absent. From in previous arcs, we haven't seen this guy in a while, and then he comes here. Besides Goku and Vegeta, it's 17, right? Maybe Frieza comes close, but not. He's there. He's up there as one of the characters that was focused on the most, and him making the ultimate sacrifice, and him potentially, because remember, at the ending of Dragon Ball at the tournament, because 17 could remain dead. We don't know that for sure, but in the actual show, he could actually remain dead because we're not certain on whether he came back or not. So that's actually something that puts some real stakes. It puts some real loss. It puts some real investment in because we know that Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, we know all these characters are going to survive. We know they're okay. We know their universe survives because we know at the ending of Z that they're there. We don't know that for 17, however. At least it has some sort of mystery around what the details of what's going to happen at the very, at the very end of the manga. So that's why I like that. So
Yes, I agree with you. An almighty explosion occurs, and 17 vanishes as 18 sheds tears, and the smoke and rubble clears. During a scene, standing still staring at Goku, he can't move forward. In fact, any physical contact with the barrier drains Jiren's power and gives it to Goku. So again, I wanted to make something here that was unpredictable. It's interesting. 17's last stand, his last barrier, is actually a meaningful barrier. It's not just a 2-second bang. It stops Jiren's explosion from hitting Goku and Vegeta, in this case, Goku, and then bang, that's it. His sacrifice is done. Goku and Vegeta have to get up and fight straight away. I wanted to give this time. Goku was stuck in this barrier with time to think for 5 minutes. It also created a defensive mechanism for Goku that if Jiren does try to touch this barrier, the 17 has put all his life force into this barrier. If he does try and touch this barrier, he will lose energy and it gets given to Goku. That's the way I kind of wanted to make it. It's interesting. It's new. It hasn't been done before in the series at all, with a barrier draining energy and giving it to someone else. I thought it was interesting, and that's the reason I decided to write that in. It also gives 17 a lasting legacy past his point of demise. He's still, helping Goku, and that's why I went with that. So during these events, Gohan has been reaching into the depths of his ultimate power, thinking about Pan and Videl. Vegeta remarks, Gohan isn't the only one fighting for something, and thinks about Bulma, Trunks, Bra, and Kaba. The two power up together, and Gohan's power is rivaling Vegeta in his evolution form. Vegeta says that if they work together, their power should be enough now to close the gap and defeat Toppo. I felt that Gohan was very wasted in the anime. I don't know what they're going to do with the manga just yet. Toyotaro might do a different spin on how Gohan gets eliminated, but I do feel that Gohan is one of those characters that when he's desperate or when he's backed into a corner, that's when his true power really shines. Now, again, we're at the business end of this tournament. He's going to be thinking about Videl. He's going to be thinking about his daughter.
I think that Gohan could have been used better in terms of the very ending. In terms of his elimination, I do think that Gohan could have been utilized better. And I'm not talking in terms of power and in terms of him getting an insane transformation or power up or something. I mean, that would have been nice. But what I wanted is more what you said before, when he was thinking about when he was thinking about his daughter and wife. I think that Gohan should have had a moment like that, like in terms of Vegeta. And you know what's really cool about that? It's almost exactly what Vegeta had in the actual show, where he thinks about what he's fighting for and his family. And what's cool about this is that then Gohan and Vegeta team up. The way you booked it, the way you booked this whole thing, Gohan and Vegeta team up. Those two characters that have very similar motivations for this tournament. First of all, I like the very idea of Vegeta and Gohan teaming up on something. Sounds like it sounds like something the tournament should have done. It sounds like an opportunity that they should have written in anyway, them teaming up together against Toppo. I feel like that's something that should have happened, and this isn't like too hard. I mean, Gohan and Vegeta's motivations as they are in the show are very similar, so having them team up against an enemy at the very end, at the very almost climax of this arc, it sounds like it's something that should have been obvious.
Yeah, well, I felt like it would be really organic to do it that way. Gohan does have the same motivations as Vegeta. They didn't show Gohan thinking about Pan and Videl, which I thought was a massive mistake.
That's another. Yeah, people complain about the no power up or no transformation, and you know what? I don't think Gohan should have gotten a power up. Excuse me. I don't think he should have gotten a new transformation. Maybe he should have gotten a new power up. But one thing he should have gotten in this arc has nothing to do with his strength, has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with his character and having one of those character defining moments for him, and I don't think he got that in this arc, and I think that's what was really missing.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there, and I feel that the biggest point here with Gohan is I don't think he does need a new transformation at all. The thing I like about Gohan is that he consistently manages to keep up with Goku and Vegeta with just his own, since he got the ultimate form, since they wrote that into the beginning of the Tournament of Power, his ultimate form seemingly becomes on par with Goku's blue form. So that was cool. I like that dynamic. The reason I like that dynamic is because Gohan actually uses the right motivations, the right training, and he's actually working hard, as Goku and Vegeta do. his ultimate form, he doesn't need a transformation. He's that special as a character and what he's been given. This transformation, the ultimate form, ultimate Gohan, can reach new heights just by thinking through the correct motivation. So I had his power in my version of events rival Vegeta. So then you then have that dynamic of, you don't have the fandom divided over who's. I'm trying to appease everyone here. Gohan is equal to Vegeta. They're both second to Goku. You don't have Vegeta being better than Gohan. You don't have Gohan being better than Vegeta. They're both below Goku, so I tried to book it that way, and I tried to make it that they're both meaningful, they both work together, and that they're both equal, like perfectly equal in terms of strength. And I felt that that was the right thing to do. People might not like this part, and I know I don't think you like this part, Juan, but this is the way I tried to make Gohan's defeat emotional, because I feel like in the anime it wasn't emotional. It was just like, bang, you're gone, Gohan, thanks for helping. Like, that's the way I felt it made me feel.
I do agree with you there that in the show it felt like when Gohan was eliminated and the sacrifice, the sacrifice that Gohan made for the whole team when they tried for the elimination of Dyspo, it felt like it was lacking weight. It was lacking any real any real emotional weight. So I will say that that's the way it was in the show. It was lacking something.
Well, I was shocked when he got eliminated, and not in a good way, because they didn't spoil that in the spoilers. They kept Gohan quiet for a couple of weeks in the spoilers, and I kind of internally felt, well, maybe Gohan's going to get wrung out and not 17, because we all thought 17 was going to get taken out at that point. And when he did get knocked out of the arena, I was like, wow, so that's it? You really ended Gohan's character that way? I felt that was a massive disservice to Gohan and his fans, and I felt like it was a massive disservice to the character, in general. He was just treated not well, and I know that Gohan has to be eliminated here, because I guarantee you Toriyama's...
I just need to say this right now, just so that people understand where I'm coming from. I actually think that Gohan was treated... he was treated okay. He was treated good, I think, for the most of the tournament. My complaints about Gohan has mostly to do with revolving around his elimination from the tournament. That's from where I'm coming from, just so everyone's clear.
It was very anticlimactic, and you're right, it didn't have any weight, because, like I said, I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised in a good way. I was like, oh, that's it. He's gone now. It was very disappointing. And, I tried to make it much more emotional. Now, this part, people are going to start disagreeing with the way I've done things now. You might have really liked what I've had to say up until now, all of you, but you might really strongly disagree with what I've done from here on in. I'm just trying to follow the flow of the story. That the way they've done it in the anime, and Toriyama's manuscript will have that certain writers do have to get, X Fighter has to be eliminated, X Fighter has to be eliminated. So Gohan's going to be eliminated just as Vegeta is going to be, just as Frieza's going to be. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, maybe Frieza won't be, maybe he'll win. But what I'm trying to say is these characters are going to be eliminated sooner or later, and I tried to do it in the best way I saw fit, that would have the biggest impact on the audience and would leave the audience guessing a lot. So I put the two attack Toppo together, and after a lengthy fight, Vegeta and Gohan, using teamwork, managed to drain Toppo's stamina using a series of team attacks. Toppo knows he can't keep this up and resorts to his last hope. Belmod yells from the bleachers and tells him to do whatever it takes so Jiren can finish it, as he believes Jiren can take on 2 opponents at their level, but not 3. As with Gohan's new power, it may prove troublesome. So in this moment, Toppo says Hakai, and as Vegeta is about to be hit by a full force attack that will erase him, Gohan steps in and pushes Vegeta aside. I'll stop there and let everyone have that sink in for a second.
I think we know what you just wrote there, man.
Yeah. So Gohan gets erased by destruction energy, and it was either going to be him or Vegeta at this point. Now, the way Toriyama did book it was Vegeta to be there at the end with Goku, so that's the way I've written it. If Toriyama had written it differently, I would have written my own version again, but I'm trying to adapt the way they're doing it in the anime and improve on it. I feel like that would have had a much more emotional weight to it. I felt like that would have shocked Gohan fans to the point that some people that are that invested in that character as much as I'm invested into Vegeta would have probably cried over it, because it would have hurt them. It can suck when you see your favorite anime character get treated like that or get hurt like that. It really hurts. So, it would have been an emotional time for Gohan fans. It would have, Piccolo is screaming from the bleachers I've put, so Piccolo's really upset. He wants to get back into the arena, but he can't. It's really had an impact. It's impacted Goku too. I've written that in there. Don't worry, I haven't just put that Goku doesn't have any impact on. whatsoever. It does.
You know, as a Gohan guy myself, it's when having Gohan okay, because it's basically the same thing that it was the same line you could say of what the show happened. Gohan sacrificed himself for the greater good of the whole team. That's what basically but basic in your version, his sacrifice is a literal, like, he dies, like he dies for the sake of Vegeta and everything.
Well,
And I don't know.
yeah,
I have a feeling that you're right. I have a feeling that if this actually happened, even though it's the exact same thing, like, obviously having Gohan sacrifice himself and just be eliminated is a lot safer. It's safer to do that than having himself being sacrificing himself and actually him getting killed. Because first of all, well, like I said before, you don't expect Gohan to die or be eliminated in this, or be erased or something like this, because you see him at the end of Z. So obviously he's a safe character. He's one of those safe guys. And I have a feeling that, I mean,
yeah.
just the way Dragon Ball Super and a lot of people, I think that there's just a lot, like, honestly, there's way too much nitpicking going around with Super, because I feel like everything Super does, like, there's always a contingent of people that are going to like it and then hate it, and then sometimes something else happens that someone might have like previously they liked this, but now they hated something, now they like this, but someone who liked something in the past now hates something new. So that's what's going on with Super, I think, a lot, like, with a lot of people, especially with this reaction on the internet. And I definitely have the feeling that if this actually happened in the show, Gohan getting erased, I mean, there would probably is going to be a contingent of fans that probably wouldn't have been satisfied with that. That probably would have gotten pissed off just for the very fact that Gohan got killed. However, it depends on how it does. If it's done in your way, in the best possible version, where Gohan, there's a character moment where he thinks about his family. He gets like maybe to fight with Vegeta. He gets one like real push in there to, it's all about what he's fighting for and everything. And then at the very end, because remember what Gohan, he's a very sacrificial type guy when it comes to all this. I mean, he will sacrifice himself for what he thinks.
In the Cell arc, he did save Vegeta when he was far stronger than Vegeta and would have been the logical choice to be stronger.
Yeah. He will sacrifice himself. That is true. And in the show, that's what happened. Gohan is a guy who will put himself on the line. That is what the actual show did. It just didn't go all the way with it. I feel that, in my opinion, I would have been satisfied with that for Gohan if that's what actually happened. He sacrificed himself for Vegeta because he knew Vegeta had a better shot, is a better asset to the entire universe, and if the entire universe survives, then his wife and child will survive, his mom will survive, everyone he cares about will survive, and he will do it. So I believe that is within his character, and I actually do think that if it's done the right way, yes, I would have probably been satisfied with that. I just have to say this because I am a Gohan fan. And I'm trying to imagine as if this actually did happen in the actual show.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that because, like I said, I'm trying to do the best I can with how I feel the characters are, and I'm glad that yourself being a huge Gohan fan agrees that that's not everyone's going to agree. In fact, I've already spoken to Mike, Laughing Stock Media with this, and he didn't like it, which that's fair enough. I got to respect other people's opinions, but I still feel it did Gohan's character far better justice than the anime did. And I do go further into depths with that later in this story here. I do write in a scene at the end with him and Vegeta regarding this exact moment. So I do go back to it again later and touch on it. And I do feel that, yes, it is within his character. In the Cell games, he did sacrifice himself to try and save Vegeta. So he it's not out of his character. He's done it before. And like you said here, it's a logical thing to do. So basically what happens is in this moment, he says, Sakai, Vegeta is about to be hit by full force. Gohan steps in and pushes Vegeta aside. Gohan has been erased. Piccolo lets out an almighty scream from the bleachers. Toppo is announced as disqualified by the Grand Priest, and the Grand Priest then teleports Toppo to the bleachers. So you can interpret that any way you want. I interpret it as the Grand Priest just literally zaps him to the bleachers the same way as if he would have been, knocked out of bounds, and Toppo has been eliminated. But basically, according to Belmont, this is fine as Jiren will take care of Goku and Vegeta. He believes that, Jiren is now enough to take out Goku and Vegeta. He was worried that with Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan, with Gohan's power being equal to Vegeta, would pose a possible problem to Jiren. Goku, still wrapped inside the barrier, is itching to attack Jiren. His energy is swelling and a heat is breaking through the barrier. Whis remarks that Goku is showing signs of returning to that Ultra Instinct out of sheer, I keep saying that because that's how they refer to it, out of sheer need and desperation, much as he did when the Genki Dama hit him, due to Son Gohan's demise. So it's kind of a little bit different here. I've tried to twist it a little bit, but he's kind of starting to, that heat is coming back and that power is coming back out of desperation.
If Gohan, was dead and sacrificed himself with his demise, I do agree that would be ample motivation for Goku as well. Like that would get him amped up to get back into the fight as well. So
yeah, and I've booked it the same way here. Vegeta knows his power is not enough, but continues to fight. So he's obviously been saved by Gohan. He thinks of his promise to Kaba and thinks of his family. But Jiren remarks, willpower cannot overcome true strength, and that Vegeta is powerless to stop his universe's demise. As Jiren, I've booked it very similar. I've written Jiren's character to be the same. As Jiren lands the decisive blow on Vegeta, he hits Vegeta. Vegeta staggers to his feet yet again. So basically what I put here, Jiren is beating to Vegeta within an inch of his life. He can't kill him. He's trying to just beat the crap out of Vegeta. I haven't written it so Vegeta has no energy. I haven't written it so Vegeta, has no ki. I haven't done that because I don't feel like it's the right thing to do. Vegeta staggers to his feet yet again, and in sheer frustration out of Vegeta's willpower, he hits Vegeta into the barrier wall. As Vegeta's body is being electrocuted and drained of its power, he forgets what happened when he touched the barrier and rushes to pull Vegeta off the barrier wall. As he is about to step forward, the barrier expires, Vegeta collapses, and Goku steps forward. 1 minute remains, and the Ultra Instinct sign form has returned. The Grand Priest announces Vegeta has passed and thus is eliminated as his body lays lifeless in front of Goku. Jiren shall receive no penalty, as it was the barrier that killed Vegeta, and this was created by his teammate, Android 17.
This goes back to us as fans knowing what's going to happen. We know that Vegeta, Goku, Gohan, all these guys are safe. So actually having, these guys die, actually drop off, I mean, I don't know. I think that it just, maybe this is too easy. Maybe, maybe it's just it's the easy way to go with. But I think that just makes it more interesting, in my opinion, because you're thinking, how is this going to line up with the ending? It creates a genuine sense of surprise, because when you're watching the tournament, I just feel you get an overwhelming sense, and I don't think this is bad. I don't think this is necessarily bad. By no means is this necessarily bad. But you do get an overwhelming sense that everything is so safe. Everything is so safe that nothing that bad can happen because of the time placement. And I think that you can suspend that knowledge for a bit. Obviously you don't have this constantly oh, they're going to survive because of this. A good story, regardless, it doesn't matter if you know that I think a good story is going to be good no matter what. So, when it's not being good, when it's kind of being mediocre, or maybe even less so than that, you're going to be reminded of things like that, and I think it detracts from the tension that it can potentially be made. And I think having the characters just die off, or not, not die off, oh, we're going to kill everyone, or just having these moments of Vegeta now, he has passed through contact with a barrier, he has now passed. I think that it creates genuine drama that I think that is kind of missing a little bit from the arc currently as is, which I am enjoying, by the way. I just want to say I do for the most part enjoy the Tournament of Power, even though I have my problems with it. But there is a sense that it's a little too safe sometimes. That's what I'm trying to get across.
Well, yeah, I mean, I find it kind of interesting that myself, I try to make it more interesting than what these team of writers have done. And I don't want to play it safe at the end of the day, because I know that these characters are going to come back. And that's why, Vegeta passing away here is not going to add a lot of tension, but it's going to add a heck of a lot more tension than him consistently getting up against Jiren and just knowing ultimately he's just going to be knocked out of bounds. The reason one character here, Gohan, he was killed off by accident. Topo wasn't going for him; he was going for Vegeta. That was a complete accident. So Topo killed Gohan out of accident. You know, Vegeta has died here again. It's an accident. Jiren wasn't the one responsible directly. I mean, he was the one that punched Vegeta into the barrier, but 17's barrier is what killed him. You know, Jiren didn't go out with intent to kill Vegeta. It kind of keeps the audience surprised. It's not oh my god, Vegeta's gone forever. It's more, oh, Vegeta's actually dead. Like that's the kind of thing I'm going for here. I'm trying to shock the audience, and I feel like that's what the anime doesn't really do. You know, the anime is very based on just explosions, transformations, lights, colored hair, but it forgets about what a good story is and how to actually keep your audience engaged in some ways. And that's why I'm trying to write it this way. So Vegeta, yeah, being taken out by the barrier, you've got to remember his energy has now also been given to Goku. So it kind of gets rid of that whole, oh, Goku's out of energy, 5 minutes, 5 minutes and he's back to full energy, or he's just powered up because Gohan died. You know, yes, he should be powered up because Gohan died. That's fine. But he's also got his energy back through a legitimate source. You know, Vegeta has still got energy left. He's not completely out of energy, and the energy that he has left has gone through the barrier into Goku. So I feel like that was a better way to give Vegeta's energy to Goku. That's why, again, I wrote it that way. So in this minute, in the last minute, because the tournament is down to its last minute here, Whis, Beerus, and Belmod stress over what will give way first: Jiren's defenses against the newly powered up Goku, or Goku's newly found power. Because you've got to keep in mind here, guys, I've purposely written in Goku's Ultra Instinct Sign form to be the only form used at this point. I think that it's better for him to use the black-haired form and try and master it over time rather than just have it at the end of the tournament, even if it's in just the last minute. I think it's better that he has the black-haired form, and that's what he's trying to beat Jiren with, because he's been shown time and time again with that form that he can actually make contact with Jiren and hit Jiren. So I don't feel like the grey-haired form is necessary to have tension in the series. Now, I have used the silver hair form, but we'll get to that soon. So the gods, Whis, Beerus, Belmod, they're all wondering what's going to give away first. Jiren's defenses, is he going to make a mistake? Is Goku going to hit him? Or Goku's power? Is Goku's Ultra Instinct Sign, is it going to fade away again? And we all know when it fades away, he's done. So Whis remarks, Goku has surpassed you, Lord Beerus, and he says it doesn't matter. Goku is fighting to save himself. To save Beerus, I meant to say that. So Goku's fighting to save Beerus, and it's only temporary. Goku has not mastered this form yet. He turns to Whis and smiles. As time is about to expire, Goku lands the decisive blow on Jiren he needs. So Jiren's defenses have failed. You know, he has made a mistake, or Goku's managed to find a way with Ultra Instinct to hurt Jiren in the similar way that he managed to find a gap. I wanted to make this similar to the fight with Caulifla. Caulifla, I wouldn't say had Goku on the ropes, but Goku's physical attacks weren't necessarily that decisive, but he outsmarted Caulifla. And that's the way I want to kind of book this ending with Jiren. He outsmarted Jiren. Jiren made a mistake. He gets the decisive blow on Jiren he needs. You know, Jiren clings to the arena's edge, and as Goku is walking over to eliminate Jiren, Belmod berates Jiren for being complacent and says he should have used his full power. So I wanted to, again, surprise the audience. Jiren, they keep doing this trope with Jiren not having shown his full power yet. I only wanted to mention it right at the end of the tournament, right in the last minute, because then it makes the audience go, shit, Jiren hasn't been serious this whole time. And, you know, even when he's fighting Ultra Instinct Sign Goku, he's still not fucking serious. You know, he's not 100% yet. So basically, in the moment that Belmod's berating him, everyone looks on in shock, going, wow, like, he hasn't been fighting serious this whole time. Jiren uses his speed and power to appear behind Goku as he's hanging off the arena. He's appearing behind Goku, and as he moves in to strike Goku with his full power, Goku's hair shines silver for a second, and as Jiren's fist strikes Goku, the force and the shockwave of the blow close to the edge of the arena knocks both Goku and Jiren out. So I wanted to basically have it that Goku's silver head gets a little second of, you know, he turns into the proper mastered Ultra Instinct for just a second, and that's enough in that split second, because this show's all about, you know, high-speed fighting and split seconds and all these things. It's enough time in that split second when he does transform in the final seconds of the tournament that when Jiren's full power does strike him, the sheer shockwave of him catching Jiren's fist, you know, he catches Jiren's fist by reacting with his Master Ultra Instinct form, that force is enough to knock both him and Jiren out of the ring, like completely. They're gone. The force just basically obliterates the part of the arena they're standing on. and they're gone.
Well, I wanted to comment a little bit on Mastered Ultra Instinct. I feel like, okay, well, I think that a lot of fans, I get it. There's some transformation fatigue, you could say, because, and I understand where that's coming from. There might be a little bit too many transformations at this point. However, I do feel that the Omen version and the silver-haired version, you could say, the mastered version, I think that the Omen version is, the way I always saw it was not as it was like a pseudo transformation. It was something like, it was in between an actual transformation. The closest thing I could say is it's something like false Super Saiyan in the fourth DBZ movie, the Lord Slug movie. And that's the closest thing that I could point it to, is something like that. That's the way I always saw Omen, and especially now that the silver-haired, the mastered version has come out, that's the way I always saw it, as the master version is the true transformation. The Omen was just, it's like in its name, it's an omen of of the transformation of what's to come. It's this, like the Omen. See, that's why I always, like, ever since I heard the official name Omen, I don't know if that's going to stick or not, but it is an official name regardless. Ever since I heard that, I always thought, well, I guess what this is meaning is that this is not, like, this is just a precursor to what the real transformation is going to be. It's not a true full-fledged transformation. The silver-haired version is going to be, like, the full, like, the real one. So anyway, I guess I wanted to point that out, but I also wanted to say another thing about it, just its name. The fact that it's called Mastered Ultra Instinct, I will agree. I don't like the idea of this new transformation being called Mastered. I would have wanted it to be called something else. I would have wanted it to be called True or Completed, or something that says this is like the full unlock, like something to convey that this is the full version of the transformation instead of mastered. Because then, like, when you let's just say it's true, like when you say true Ultra Instinct or completed Ultra Instinct, there's still a version, you could still have room there for it to be mastered, right? Saying Mastered Ultra Instinct already gives you the impression that Goku has no room to improve. Just so, and that's the only thing I don't like. I hope that now, because this transformation is now new, I hope that the series takes the approach that Goku still has a lot to learn in this new transformation. I think that it will take that approach. However, that name, I mean, it's not the first time an official name has given way to another official name, like Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan gave way to Super Saiyan Blue. So it's not the first time something like that happens. I really hope that in the future, Mastered Ultra Instinct gives way to another. I mean, this is probably not going to happen, but I mean, I can hope. I mean, it happened in the past. I can hope it happens again. And maybe this is just a semantic argument, or maybe a semantic point. I understand it's not maybe that important, but I feel it's important in the connotations it brings. When you say mastered, it means Goku has no room to improve. And I think that is limiting to Goku's, like, it's limiting. It's just a limiting thing. I think having it be called something else, and once again, this can be easily fixed. It might not even be a big deal in the long run, but I just wanted to mention it here.
I agree with you a lot, but I also say that's exactly why I wrote in for Goku to basically just show a hope or a flicker of that silverhead form. He hasn't mastered it. It should be called something different. He's obtained a power greater beyond Ultra Instinct Sign or Ultra Instinct Omen, whatever your preferred name for it is. The reason I say that is because I'm trying to portray to the audience now that he's kind of got the ability. Yes, he's still going to phase in and out of Ultra Instinct Sign, but he's now transformed into it because of something that happened, Gohan's death. And I feel like eventually, soon after the way I've written this, he should be able to just tap back into that Ultra Instinct Omen or Sign power at will. And then there's something further beyond that was teased. You're kind of like, wow, there's actually something even further beyond that. If they want to do that, which is obviously what they do want to do. And I've teased it still, but I've only teased it for like a second. And that's something they can work towards in the future, because now Gohan hasn't surpassed the gods permanently. He's got like an Ultra Instinct form that he can transform into for, like, I don't know, 2 minutes to 5 minutes or something. Or, he's still got room to improve before he actually surpasses the gods, like, full time, like until he's absolutely surpassed the gods 110% all the time. He's still got room. If you just give him a Mastered Ultra Instinct and say, here, he's definitively surpassed the gods. That's the way it seems to be portrayed in the anime. And he's only got the angels and the Grand Priest to really surpass, or perhaps even Jiren, depending on how this series goes. So I don't feel like they've done the right thing there, and I felt that they could have just ended this tournament with Jiren versus Ultra Instinct Sign or Omen Goku, because it leaves room to improve in the future, and that's my main argument for doing that. But I still did want to show the Silverhead form because, again, I'm doing an adaptation of the ending in the anime, so I wanted to still use what they're showing in the anime.
I also wanted to comment a little bit. I wanted to go into your ending, your actual ending of Goku and Jiren both knocking each other out. This is where something that I actually maybe I will change my mind if like in the weeks coming. However, I think this is probably an instance where I think the show, and by the way, spoilers folks, if you don't know the spoilers of the end of Dragon Ball Super, then you probably don't want to be listening to like the next couple minutes. But this is something where I think the show actually, I prefer the show where Jiren definitively beats Goku instead of them both knocking each other out. Because the way I saw the tournament is, first of all, I knew Goku wasn't going to win because Goku never really wins cleanly in these tournaments. He's only ever won one tournament clean, and every other one there's always been some technical thing that happened or he just lost. So I knew that Goku wasn't going to win. I thought that them both knocking each other out was very possible. However, having Jiren cleanly beat Goku, just beat him, even in this new transformation, I feel is, when I first heard this, I really like that idea. I like the idea that Jiren beat Goku, and here's one reason. One reason is I felt it would have been too anticlimactic if obviously Goku just beat Jiren. Like, obviously, I think the worst possible ending, or in terms of this fight, is Goku beating Jiren, because Goku gets this new transformation. He then just beats Jiren probably easily, and it seems like an anticlimactic thing. The safest and the ending that would probably satisfy the most people, I think, would be both Goku and Jiren knocking each other out. That's probably the safest ending. It satisfies everyone because now people can't say they gave Goku everything. Oh, they're giving him everything, and they also can't say, that Goku should have won, and it like meets in the middle. It's the perfect middle ground. However, the reason I think Jiren should have been the one beating Goku in this is because they built up Jiren to an insane degree throughout this entire arc, really. Throughout the entire tournament, we've seen like the confidence. We've seen glimpses of his power, and for him to just simply be beaten by Goku, or have even struggle, I almost want to say for him to even just struggle, and to get double knocked out at the very end by some transformation that Goku just unlocked at the very end, seems like it's anticlimactic to a certain extent because of the buildup of what's happened before. Now, some people don't like the buildup. Some people don't like Jiren's buildup, but I feel like, look, you've invested so much in this buildup of this character, it has to pay off somewhere. And I don't think that, as far as Super right now, as of episode 129, it has not paid off yet. And quite frankly, now with the end of the fight, the only way it possibly can pay off at this point is if Jiren wins the fight. So that is why I think that Jiren winning the fight makes the most sense in terms of a drama perspective. I think that it's the best way to present this, because otherwise it's like you built all this drama around Jiren, and for what? For him to just be matched, to be equaled, or even worse, to be beaten. I think having him go completely over, and beating Goku cleanly I think it was the best decision. You probably disagree with that, but that's the way I view things.
I'm not necessarily disagree. I just wrote the ending to be that Goku still has to work to reach Jiren's level, but at the split second he did obtain the silver head form, he was able to basically block Jiren's punch with enough force in Jiren's opposite direction. Jiren was throwing a punch at Goku, and Jiren was enough. Goku's new energy at that point in time when he had the silver head transformation for that split second was enough to basically negate what Jiren threw at him. but it was only for that split second, and it was the shockwave that actually knocked both of them out. It wasn't a decisive victory for Goku, and it wasn't a decisive victory for Jiren. What it does show to the audience is that Jiren is still decisively stronger, and that Goku has not mastered the Silverhead form yet, and that his Ultra Instinct Omen or Sign form is not enough to beat Jiren, because that reinforces what happened earlier in the arc when he first obtained it, and Jiren was able to, hastily beat him when he decided to get serious or when Goku's time expired. So it still shows that Jiren is stronger, but I just felt it was, for my ending and the way I've written this, as you already know, it was the easiest way to go. And it also was a way of showing that Goku definitively is the number one fighter for Universe 7, but also that Jiren is still above him. I feel it shows both of those sides. So I'll continue with the story. As the crowd looks on in shock, not knowing what their fate will be, Jiren and Goku, from the bleachers, they're not both eliminated at this point, look on at the Grand Priest, wondering what he will say. As the Grand Priest is about to turn and look to Zeno. Now, he's turning to look to Zeno to see what Zeno will say, because essentially now you've got a double elimination. Both universes have lost all of their fighters. So they're kind of looking, the Grand Priest is looking to Zeno, the two Zenos, to go, what gives? What goes on now? What happens? As he's doing that, he catches Vegeta move out of the corner of his eye. And this is where all the sighs go up in the comment section. Everyone goes, Vegeta fanboy.
Ugh, your Vegeta fanboyism had to show up here, didn't it?
I only did this for the way I felt that the arc has built itself up and the way I feel it should have ended. I've shown Goku is still definitively stronger than every character on Universe 7, like easily by a long shot, but they're still giving Vegeta his character arc, and they're still completing his character arc and giving him that promise to cover. This is the way I feel it should have ended. Like I said at the start of this video, not all of you are going to agree with everything I say, but it's a different perspective. So as the Grand Priest looks to Zeno, he turns to look to Zeno, he catches Vegeta move out of the corner of his eye. Vegeta has survived and is announced the winner. Vegeta is then carried back to the bleachers by the Grand Priest. So I wanted to make this a little bit different. The Grand Priest actually walks down, not walks down, but flies down, because he can still seemingly float on that little platform. He floats down to where Vegeta is, and he picks Vegeta up and carries Vegeta back to the bleachers. And when he's carrying Vegeta back to the bleachers, the Grand Priest asks what awoke him. He claims he does not know, but Whis, because Whis has very sharp eyes, as we all know, believes that the shockwave of Jiren's blow, when Goku and Jiren hit each other, reset his heart. And although he had next to no energy because he'd given it all to Goku, Vegeta remarks, us Saiyans have a nasty habit of not dying. So even though he didn't really have much energy left, as it was all sapped by the barrier, when his heart was restarted, he still had enough energy to cling to life. Beerus asks Goku what that was, referring to the silver hair, and Goku responds he doesn't know. So he doesn't remember transforming into the Silverhead form even for a split second, but hopes he can keep training in order to master Ultra Instinct. So again, I've hinted at that mastered form showing the silver hair, and Goku hopes to keep training in order to attain that. He has already obtained the Sign form or the Omen form. He can transform into that for a limited period of time until he runs out of stamina, but he hasn't got the Silverhead form yet, not definitively. Vegeta scoffs and says, so he won out of sheer dumb luck. I think that's a very, in-character thing for Vegeta to say, even though Goku's got this seemingly new, ridiculous power, even further beyond Ultra Instinct. He's like, oh, good work, Goku. We just won out of sheer dumb luck.
Yeah. It does sound like something he would say.
So as Universe 7 celebrate, the mood dims as the Grand Priest announces Universe 11's defeat. They will be erased. Universe 7 looks on as they are erased, and Goku and Vegeta remark how bittersweet it is that they survive, but can't challenge those strong fighters anymore. Again, I feel that would be a very in-character thing for both of those characters. They're happy they survived, that they are the last team standing, but they're also, Goku and Vegeta in particular, are disappointed because they won't get to challenge, Toppo or Jiren or Dyspo anymore. They're gone. That's it. Vegeta is asked by the Grand Priest if he's ready to make his wish. He says there is a catch. His wish must not be in defiance of Zeno, or he will be erased. So if Vegeta wishes something like, I wish all the universes back, he gets erased because that's in defiance of what Zeno wanted. So I feel like it makes the ending, again, not predictable. You can't just have... the worst ending for me in this anime is if the wish at the end is to wish back all the universes. It just completely... The whole point of this tournament even taking place in the first place would just be, what was the point? It's dumb.
No, I agree. Having all the universes come back, it makes the whole thing pointless. Although I don't think that I don't think that the actual ending is going to be like the one that you written down here.
Vegeta is asked by the Grand Priest if he's ready to make his wish. He says there's a catch. Obviously, his wish must not be in defiance of Zeno. Like I said, he'll be erased for that. He smiles and asks Whis to translate his language, his wish into the language of the gods. So he's asking, obviously, Whis is the angel that oversees Universe 7. So he's asking Whis to translate his wish into the language of the gods. And his wish is revive all combatants. So all combatants, not just the people that were erased by Zeno, but people that died, such as Gohan, etc. Everyone to be resurrected. 17, everyone. Revive all combatants so that they can come and live in Universe 7. So I've done that for two reasons. Number one, we know that Gohan's going to come back. He's in the end of Z. Number two, Dragon Ball in general, it's not new for these characters to come back to life after a dramatic death. Like 17, even though his death in this way I've written it was also dramatic, it's not out of character for Dragon Ball as a franchise to bring people back. It's been happening since Dragon Ball. Upa's father was killed. He was brought back. Krillin was killed. He was brought back. Like, these characters die, they come back. That's just the way Dragon Ball is. So I've made so Vegeta not just wishes Kaba back or Universe 6 back, but he wishes all the fighters back. But he doesn't do it in defiance of Zeno. He doesn't wish the physical universes back, because the whole reason Zeno wanted to destroy those universes is because they didn't have a high enough mortal level. Too many wars, too much infighting. So Vegeta hasn't defied Zeno. He has simply wished the combatants back, and that's not in defiance of Zeno. So they all come to live in Universe 7 with, wherever you want to book them. If you want to book them on a faraway planet, you can do that. If you want to book them on Earth, you can do that. I'll leave that up to your imagination. But basically, I've put that after that, I'm just trying to find where I was up to. Vegeta remarks, here we go. Sorry, it's taking me back a fair bit. So basically, when Vegeta announces that wish, everyone comes back, and they're all in the bleachers. So they're all cramped together, and they're all in the bleachers together, and it's all kind of cramped because the bleachers are pretty small. Vegeta and Kaba see each other, and they smile. The other fighters stand in the now packed bleachers in shock at the fact they're all back alive. Goku asks, what about getting to see Planet Sadal? And Vegeta remarks, they will find a way to go there one day, and that right now that's not important. Vegeta then asks Gohan why he jumped in front of Toppo's blast, and Gohan states it was a split-second decision, and that he figured with Vegeta's extra combat experience, he would have a better defense against Toppo and Jiren. So Juan actually remarked on that before, like about half an hour ago. Gohan simply did that because he's not a selfish person. He wanted to do what was best for his family and for his loved ones. So that's why he made that decision to jump in front of Toppo's blast. And that's exactly the answer he gives Jiren. Vegeta says he appreciates the gesture, but tells Gohan he considers him his equal and would have done just as well against Jiren as he did. Beerus doesn't know how to feel about the other gods and warriors coming to live in his universe, but the Grand Priest remarks, now that the other gods don't have universes to oversee, they are essentially normal mortals again, albeit very strong ones. This makes Goku smile. So again, that's a very in-character moment. Goku's happy because he's got these... They're not gods anymore, but just because they're not gods doesn't mean they're not still powerful, because to become a candidate for a god, you have to be a powerful fighter. So these people are still powerful mortals, and they're all going to be in Universe 7. This makes Goku happy.
Makes sense.
Beerus is then told... Yeah, I feel like it's in character for Goku. He's really excited. Beerus is then told they are under his jurisdiction now, so the other gods, former gods, are all under Beerus's jurisdiction, and the Grand Priest doubts the other former gods will have any problem with this, as at least now they exist rather than being erased. So, they're happy to just be alive, even if it's in another universe. Even if they're not gods anymore, they can still live a life. They're not erased. Whis says farewell to his siblings and father, as the other angels are now inactive and will remain with Zeno too. The remaining 4 gods who are exempt from the tournament, their angels and Kaioshins, leave for their respective universes, and Beerus remarks they should all go back to Capsule Corp for some food. Goku and Vegeta like this. Back at Capsule Corp, Bulma has gathered family and friends as she figures the time has elapsed in the tournament and they are still alive. So I felt like Bulma's not dumb. She knows how long the tournament's going for. That was, mentioned before the tournament. So if she knows how long the tournament's going for, she'd roughly know, if we're going to be erased, we would have been erased in the last 45 odd minutes. We haven't been erased, so we must have won the tournament. So because of that, she's decided to call everyone, gather everyone together for celebration. Everyone hugs their loved ones, and the mortals from the other universes are welcomed by everyone. The series ends with Whis telling Goku he can still get stronger, And Vegeta simply remarks, "Not without me." So you've kind of closed that dynamic of Goku and Vegeta being equals, even though they're not equals anymore. Goku's still stronger, but it leaves it open for Vegeta to keep playing catch up with Goku as he's done all of Dragon Ball. So I wanted to close the series with a note that Goku, yes, you're number one. You can still get stronger because you haven't mastered Ultra Instinct yet. And Vegeta goes, you know what? You're not going to leave me behind. I'm going to come too. I felt like that was the right thing to do. And that's how I've written this arc to finish, to be honest. That's the way I felt it would be best.
In a lot of things that you've written down, I definitely prefer your version of events to the version that actually happened in the show. That the perfect example for this for me is Dyspo. I think the way you've treated Dyspo is not only a nice showcase of him as a character and his capabilities, but also what the Tournament of Power and this battle royal actually is. But I'm pretty sure the people that have contrary opinions are going to be sure to tell you, right? We're going to be sure to tell you in the comments and on Twitter or wherever else they could find you or hound you for.
I'm sure they'll be very vocal.
Well, hey man, you're a very vocal person too, man. So you gotta.
I am. The way I live my life is if you can dish it out, you got to be able to take it. If you think I can't take it, then by all means try me. But I'm simply trying to write a better ending for Super. From what I've seen in the last, I haven't seen. Actually, the funny thing is, I haven't seen episode 129. I know the summary. I know what happens in it, but I just wasn't interested in watching it. That's just my personal opinion. Don't berate me for not watching the episode. I know what was going to happen. I actually said to several people on Twitter, and I told Juan privately this off air. I said I mentioned to several people on Twitter, "Is this what happened in the episode?" And they all told me pretty much yes. So I know what happened in the episode without even seeing it. So that's predictable, So I mean, I know enough in what's going to happen at the end of this arc to feel like I sat down to myself and I thought to myself, I think I can do a better job, in my opinion. Just because I say it's a better job doesn't mean it is better. But I think it's more reflective of the characters, their motivations, the way they would be fighting, how this tournament should be played out. And I feel like the ending I gave would still be fair to all characters. Like every character, it's fair. Just because I gave Vegeta the victory of the tournament doesn't mean he's number one. And a lot of people have problems grasping that. The only reason I did give Vegeta the win is not because he's my favorite character. I can assure you of that. It's because they kept building up his promise to Kaba time and time again. And, I felt a little bit contrived. And I would like to say this on air, on record, so people can hear it, because this will be on YouTube then. I feel like just things that they did, like beats and ticks in the episodes throughout the tournament, were specific to Goku. Like Goku being able to get up after having no stamina and just fight straight away again. That seems to be specific to Goku. Vegeta can't do that for some reason. And people do remark, well, what about the episode after he used that final explosion against Topper? He transformed into his blue form. He did that for about 30 seconds of screen time to 45 seconds of screen time. That's not a lot. And he straight away turned back into his base form. Goku seems to consistently get back up and just keep fighting, keep transforming. And, a perfect example of that was when he was fighting Khalifa and Kale together. He went 1, he went 2, he went 3, he went God, he went blue, all in the span of 2 minutes. You got to remember these episodes are roughly a minute each. So I feel like for Vegeta to be completely out of energy, but can do a final flash, he can't transform, he can do a final flash, he can't, can't power up at all, but he has energy to give to Goku. And a lot of people give me the reason that it was his life energy. I don't necessarily agree with that at all. I feel like it's just a way to have Goku get his plot armor so he can stand back up and fight. And again, it doesn't mean I hate Goku, because I've written Goku to be far stronger than Vegeta in my ending. I just felt that my storytelling was more consistent and more in character, and it wasn't as forced. It didn't feel forced. I tried to make it more organic. And if people can't understand that I don't hate Goku, I just want better storytelling. And yes, I do find Goku to be a boring and stagnant character at this stage of the series.
Man, come on, man. Goku is Dragon Ball, and I'm sorry, man. I'm going to defend Goku to the end, man, especially with all these attacks on him.
He is Dragon Ball. You can't like Dragon Ball without you can't hate Goku if you like Dragon Ball. That's what I'm trying to say. But what I am trying to also get across is he hasn't changed as a character, and that's why I have specifically written him to still be stronger than Vegeta, because that's the way he will always be. That's the way he always should be. But you can still use the other characters in more or less predictable fashion, is what I'm saying. for Vegeta to beat Topo and then you know straight away he's going to be the fall guy for Goku to beat Jiren, like that's really predictable. It's been done like a million times before. Like I just wanted to do something different where you could still have Goku as number one when it comes to strength and fighting abilities, but have Vegeta do something meaningful, like actually meaningful in a series at the end of a conclusion of a series or an arc. And that's why I wrote the series this way. And it doesn't change the Goku Vegeta dynamic at all. It doesn't change that one single bit. So people that love that old-fashioned Goku Vegeta rivalry, it is still exactly the same the way I wrote it.
Well, all I have to say is that's exactly what a Vegeta fanboy would say. But
You have to make that joke.
yeah, I know. But I just want to say that just for me closing this, I just want to say that I mean I obviously there's so many thoughts I have on the Tournament of Power. I actually for the most part I enjoy the Tournament of Power. I enjoy it for the more than I dislike it. I have my problems with it, but for the most part, I like what they're doing. I mean, me and Jay get in arguments about this all the time, talking about what I like and what he doesn't like, and how me defending it. Essentially, I honestly don't like this whole attitude of nitpicking going on. Okay, maybe I've contributed to it a bit myself. I'm not gonna be blameless here, but I don't like the idea of. I think it's like the whole internet thing going on right now. But whatever. I just wanted to point out that for the most part, I do enjoy the Tournament of Power. I'm really anticipating these last two episodes, so I don't want to come off as someone who doesn't enjoy the Tournament of Power here, because I do. Even though Jay has his problems with it, and I know that Jay at the end is a true, he's a fan. The reason he even wrote this is because he cares about this series. That's the reason, is because he cares. So I mean, I understand where he's coming from, but I guess you could say like I said, I don't hate the Tournament of Power. I actually do like it. I'm not one of the people that constantly thinks that everything it's doing is wrong or don't see the problems with it. But anyway,
I was just going to say, I don't hate the Tournament of Power either. I hate the conclusion to it, the way it's going. Every arc in Dragon Ball Super has good elements and good parts. Like the Future Trunks arc was good for the middle third, and then at the end it just got bad, in my opinion. So that's the way I feel about a lot of Super. It gets good in patches, but then the final piece of execution, and the final piece of execution is the most important integral part to your storytelling. They always manage to find a way to just make it underwhelming, and that's how I feel.
Well, I guess that's we got nothing else to say on this subject. I mean, I'm gonna probably try to bring you on more often, man, because I mean, I think this was a great conversation. Hopefully we can meet up again at the end of the tournament, the end of this, at the end of Super, and maybe discuss this whole arc as a whole. From the very beginning. I mean, that'll be this was a long ass conversation. Considering this was just about the ending, I mean...
Yes, please don't chop it into two videos. Just make it one long video and put lots of ads in.
Yeah. But anyway, hopefully you guys got your dose of the Space Australian Jay, since he has been absent from us. I mean, you're still hanging around on Twitter, right? Well, yeah, hey, I was absent too, so I'm not once again, not completely blameless. But if you want to, I mean, I'll probably put Jay's Twitter in the bottom over there if you want to follow him, what he's up to this time and date. But anyway, go follow Jay and then quickly unfollow him. But anyway, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this conversation of some Vegeta fanboys fanfic. But until next time, guys. I'm Blackenfist, and farewell.